Everybody to the Never Ending Adventure Podcast, the podcast where I, DJ Nettie P, am an Adventure Time expert, have seen the show several times, and it's my top favorite show of all time. And our other co-host,
Russell Tyndall, and I am not an expert, and I am probably more of a goofball than anything, but I think we like to claim that I'm a seasoned cartoon and TV show media viewer. Anyways,
yes.
No, this is my first time through the show. It's been really great. I've really enjoyed it so far, and I'm excited to dive deeper. This season 4, episode 5, we'll be talking about Return to the Nightosphere, which is a big episode. But first off, I think we often like to bitter and banter a little bit beforehand. Ned, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I have a really crappy whiskey bourbon in my hand right now.
Okay, nice.
From my hometown. I bought it because I had it on a flight taster, like you're tasting all their different whiskeys. And then I took it back home and I was like, this just tastes like bourbon flavored moonshine. It's not very good.
Oh man. I'm drinking a little bit of a DR Pep. Good old peppy boy. I'm not much of a soda guy, but living with Allie gets me soda from time to time. So
yeah,
it's
dude. Well, it's one of those things, man. The soda is crazy. I feel like I cut a lot of sugar sodas out of my life in my around age 20. But it's nice because it's like it makes it like, hey, this is like a dessert. This is like a treat for me to like go out and like get a sugar soda or get like a real Mexican Coke. Like it's good.
It is a dessert. It's 150 calories in a can, which for a soda, I don't know. Anyways, I've recently gotten back into a little bit of a health kick, and I just can't help but look at freaking the nutrition facts and think of, okay, let's cut out liquid calories as much as we can and exercise. And I've been really bad about exercising the past 2 weeks, but I think a lot of people do this New Year's resolution thing where I'm going to work really hard and get back in shape or whatever, and then they fall off. And I'm kind of I'm going to be steady and I'm just going to keep going. And I've been working out pretty steady since early fall, right? So for me, I'm just being lazy because I just got back from traveling, and then I got sick, and then I'm back from being sick. So anyways, but I actually got this really dope. I haven't talked to you about this yet, but my father got me this trainer. So it's like a new bike trainer, right?
Yeah. No, I think we talked about this on the podcast on our New Year's resolution podcast. We talked about your trainer that you got.
Well, I finally used it for the first time, and it was so freaking cool. The fork raises and lowers as you're pedaling and riding, and it's like playing a video game.
That's
like you see yourself going up and down hills, and it gets easier to pedal when you go down a hill, and it gets harder to pedal when you go up a hill. You get little power ups and crap. It's stupid.
That's
but
cool
it is
that
so
it
fun.
Auto does that. Well, so we got a Peloton for Christmas.
Yeah, that's great.
That was like our big one, and they have a little mode. They have all those classes and stuff, but they actually have a mode where it's almost set up like Guitar Hero, and it's this little wheel going down a track, and then like you have to move like the wheel left to right, which means you're like adjusting the speed setting or the resistance setting up and down.
Oh, cool.
But it's like either a 20 or 30 minute session with these songs, and you're like hitting the notes and stuff like a Guitar Hero. And I was like, I've been doing that and enjoying that more than the actual like, okay, Peloton, sessions. Everybody get up, motivation, breathe in. Like,
oh, I love that.
I don't hate it, but I'm like, okay, if I'm going to Peloton and I grew up loving Guitar Hero, like this is kind of cool to be like busting ass and sweating in a Peloton and feeling like I'm playing Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Though I would love to have, I don't know why, it feels like a contradiction, but I would love to have maybe not a contradiction, but I would love to have a like 250-pound dude named Frank, who's obviously a doper, like yelling at me while I'm riding in a Peloton. Something about that seems really funny to me.
I want
like
maybe
a guy who
sign up
isn't a
for
cyclist
something
at all.
Yeah, I want that, and I want somebody being like vulgar. Like, have you ever? I don't know. Yeah, we don't tangent on this podcast at all, but
no, we don't.
Man, I want some of those like workout classes where it's not like, you've got this. I want somebody being like, get up, you fat fuck. Come on. Get out of that side of this seat. Get out of here. Let's go. Like, I need some of that in my
You're
life.
a piece of shit.
I need some Kirby Smart in my life.
Yeah, that'd be great. Apparently we're dog fans. We'll stop tangenting after this, but yeah, man, apparently he I don't know, some dude was saying that he thought they were going to go like 7-5 or 5-7 this season. And obviously the dogs won out. Ooh. So go dogs.
Yeah, but we don't want to bog the podcast down with football, but man, we're having a good week.
Welcome to the Nightosphere a second time. Let's hop in.
Actually, yes, we are doing season 4, episode 5. Fantastic episode, Return to the Nightosphere, which honestly, dude, we're early into season 4 right now, and like really, this might get one of my top favorite episodes of this. I freaking love this episode.
Good episode. Really good episode. We fade in on the Nightosphere. Finn and Jake come to consciousness in a pile of questionable bananas in a cage without understanding the recent events that have occurred in their lives.
Yes. And
so
actually,
relatable.
One of my favorite lines comes out of them getting out of the pile of bananas. It took me about 7 times watching this episode to catch this line where Jake goes, "Mayhaps we drank juice of the elder toad."
Yeah, mayhaps.
Mayhaps we did. And that is most likely a reference to a Sonoran desert toad whose juice, quote unquote, contains 5-MeO-DMT, which is a powerful hallucinogen. So I thought that was like, and I also think that's where they got the Hypnotoad from Futurama.
There's a freaking ton of good references this episode, and we'll dive into them more as we keep going throughout this whole episode. But immediately, my mind is drawn to the sword. I'm like, they blacked out, they're in jail, and Finn has the demon blood sword on his back still, despite all of those events.
Yes, no, I love it. I mean, after Dad's dungeon, the demon blood sword is the go-to sword for Finn for a long time, actually.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So we and I do think, what was it? The cloud in this episode that they say the cloud is made of demon blood mist.
Ooh, yeah.
You do see Finn at the end of the episode blocking the green power, the disintegration rays from the cloud with the sword. And I think it's because it's a demon blood sword that it can even hold up.
Well, so they say sentient blood mist is what they actually call it.
Sentient blood mist.
Yeah. What a terrifying concept. And it is sentient because it's Hudson, or you're led to believe that it's Hudson. Spoilers, go watch this episode. If you haven't seen this episode yet, Ned already talked about how much you liked this episode. It's freaking good. This is a good episode. It's going to be up there for season 4, most likely. But at the same time, I do have some complaints. I've got some complaints about this episode.
Yuck the yums early on, and then we'll get past the yums.
Okay. My yum is we're waiting in lines.
I'd say the adventure of this episode is line waiting.
We're waiting in lines. There are 3 minutes of this entire episode. I tracked it on my phone where you are watching Finn and Jake sitting in lines. It is a little rough. It's a little overboard.
But see, I'll unyuck your yum and say that's kind of the beauty of Adventure Time is those episodes where Finn and Jake are having an adventure that's not we do love dungeons. We've established that already plenty of times, but the fact that we're getting hilarious jokes, funny adventures out of such simple concepts, that the arc of this episode is when they get out of line. That's the peak of this episode.
What, Ned, what is this double negative that you just, double non-sexual negative that you just used for the yuck your yums? Let me yuck your yum.
Unyuck your yum.
I think what you're trying to say is, let me yum my yum, Russell. Let me yum my yum.
Let me yummy my yum.
No, it's a good episode. Again, that's my one grief is that we're waiting in lines. We're watching them wait in lines. But they do a good job of making the line waiting entertaining for the most part. So it's not a big grief. It's just kind of wow, I just realized that they waited in one line to get to a teller who told them to go get a piece of paper and wait for their number to be called. And then they go through the door and then they wait in another damn line. until fortunately the sentient blood cloud or whatever it's called, blood mist, comes and zaps half the line or the entire line away. But
but let's
I'm
be
getting
real
ahead
though.
of myself.
If I mean, we do learn at the end of this episode, it wasn't Hudson that was doing all this. It was Marceline trapped in a some sort of an outer coat that we will get to next week. I don't want to like spoil anything or do anything like that. But kind of the fact that, you know, the Nightosphere is supposed to be some sort of hellscape. It's not the death world, or it's not the land of the dead where death lives, but it is some sort of demon universe. And that if you were going to make people suffer, doesn't have to be with fiery flames and burning and suffering. Just be waiting in line for.
It's pretty damn great.
They waited in line for 2 + 4 + 8 + 13 days,
right?
plus 18 hours, which equates to 666 hours total waited before they got out of line. Which
28
I think
days,
was,
I believe, of them losing their mind waiting in lines.
Yeah.
It's pretty great, honestly. The artwork is fantastic this episode. My thought was like, the Nightosphere sucks because of all the line waiting, but what a great setting for a good episode.
Yes.
Despite how much it sucks, despite the cult going into a temple and jumping off the cliff and committing suicide.
Did you catch the Monty Python reference there?
Maybe not.
Monty Python in the Holy Grail, when they have that little like cutaway scene, and it's like kind of like the 2D paper like things, and the monks are going up the steps like all singing their song, and then they jump off the diving board. I think that was a reference to Monty Python.
Yeah, I believe it, man. There's a ton of references in this episode. And I'm probably stealing a little bit of your Nettie's factoids just by
I've got
mentioning
lots of
this.
factoids for this one.
But the artwork, did you write down what the artwork was based on? Can we get into that a little bit?
Hieronymus Bosch and the Garden of Earthly Delights. What was it called? It's
the third panel of the Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yeah. Which I thought, I mean, I've watched this show 1,000 times, and I've never picked up on that this is I was always just, you know, assumed that this was somebody's bad mushroom trip like put on paper. But in that painting itself, there is a creature that's like cut in half, that's white and cylindrical, and I was like, that looks like the thing that they travel around on in the Nightosphere.
It's a really rad painting. I highly recommend going and looking it up. And honestly, when we were watching this episode, Allie did a little bit more digging, because this is the sort of thing that really fascinates her.
Allie.
Well, you know, not too much, but certainly a little bit. And she had more, and I wrote down what I was like, oh, I can talk about that on the podcast and not totally botch it. But so it's that third panel, which is what the artwork and the denizens of the world of the Nightosphere were based on. The panel is the Day of Judgment panel. So there's a lot of like Christian imagery in the three panels. But then the painting was actually inspired by a poem, supposedly, in which the devil is described as the Lord of Chaos, which is fascinating because we know that the ruler of the Nightosphere, Hudson Abadir, is sort of an agent of chaos, or almost entirely an agent of chaos, as he mentions. And I did watch the next episode when he's trying to encourage chaos upon Marceline. But yeah, so let me see. It's the poem is called "The Vision of Tundale," and it was supposedly composed or translated in 1400.
Jeez.
Yeah, so pretty fascinating. I mean, I love that they're diving into that. I love that there's a poem that also relates the devil to Hudson Abadir in a sense, you know, and then back to the painting inspiring the Nightosphere. It's kind of weirdly deep in a fantastic way.
Well, it goes to show. I mean, a lot of not just Adventure Time, like creatives across all these different shows have so many things that inspire them, and that I love it just in the sense that like cartoon shows creators, they don't just sit in a room and go like, what would be funny? What could we draw that looks funny? Is that they have these other sources from, I mean, daggum 16th century paintings and 15th century poems that they are using as kind of their base of inspiration for creativity. And I love that.
Yeah, that's great. Everything's inspired by something else, right? And that's why there's beauty, and you have to be careful with getting into music, at least copyright law, and what you're restricting when it comes to inspiration and taking direct inspiration from another song or whatever. But it all stems from things before it. There are original ideas, certainly, but no original ideas coming from absolutely nothing, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'd say, very rarely it is, but I think that's the beauty of art is being.
I mean, unless you're tripping on the juice of the elder toad, maybe you're getting some original ideas, but
I'd say, maybe that's where they even got the idea for referencing an elder toad, is saying that somebody went on one of the artists went on a DMT trip and was like, okay, I got a couple of ideas for this episode.
Can you think of a time, when was the last time that you didn't recall the last night events, and you kind of woke up like, okay, what just went down?
Last Saturday.
Oh no, really?
Oh yeah, we had a friend's birthday. Good high school friend of Jackie, and we did a double date and went through probably 3 bottles of wine between the 4 of us and 2 or 3 cocktails. Great. And let's say the Uber ride was a little fuzzy on the way home.
That is so funny because we literally were going to record this episode on Sunday, and both Ned and I were like, man, I'm feeling a little hungover today. Let's not. Because my answer is also last Saturday night. Allie and I, we had a night in, funny enough. We just played Mario Party and drank 2 bottles of wine, and were more hungover than I want to admit on Sunday when we went down to see her parents for a little bit and have her dad work on our car. But I was just like, man, I was not planning on drinking. I'm mostly a social drinker, I'd say, but certainly something about Mario Party just felt right. It just felt good. Yeah. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, sometimes those nights in, they're fun just to do that. Yeah. And like, man, there's something. I mean, I'm not encouraging like over drinking or
heavy
anything
drinking
like that.
Now.
But
yeah,
no, I'm not encouraging
unless
that at
you're
all.
Cool. No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes just like I'd say like some of like really just solid good nights or just a night in. You get a bottle of wine and put in a Marvel movie. And like, that's just like, I don't know. There's something that like it scratches an itch in just terms of relaxation. That's just fantastic.
Well, man, we played 2 long games of Mario Party. I never felt drunk. It just was a matter of like drank a ton. And then for some reason, toward the end of the second game, maybe I was drunk. I just don't remember all the events of how I won. But regardless, let's keep moving on. I did not wake up in a pile of gross bananas.
We woke up, in terms of the walking through this episode scene by scene, which we try not to do. There's other Adventure Time podcasts that do that, and we don't do it. But it did actually bring up my lovely of this episode.
Oh, the jail guard?
The jail guard is my lovely of the episode because he sounds super bored with this job. He's obviously clocking in on a day-to-day basis. He's like, you guys are in the Nightosphere.
Yeah, my shift's over. I mean,
my shift's over. Nobody showed up.
Just gonna sort of bail now. Yeah, and the best, my tops of this episode is the running joke. We had a great running joke this episode. Last episode, I didn't love the apple pie bit that was consistent with Jake throughout the whole episode, but this episode, and I believe it's consistent with the next episode some, the running joke about the gross stuff that they started in, the banana-shaped stuff that they started in. The guard's just like, oh, gross. You touch that stuff?
Well, that combined with he just keeks asking everybody that they encounter. He's like, what's with this? And he's like, do you have an outlet anywhere? I got to charge my phone.
Yeah, because his phone dies as they're trying to remember what happened from last night. It's a good bits on a good episode. It makes for a fun 11-minute watch.
Yeah, well, it did lead me to kind of something more like I like to kind of bring everything and bring episodes now that we're in season 4. We can bring this into larger Adventure Time universe stuff. Is cell phones. cell phones and more of communication style within Adventure Time. So Jake's just got this like OG Nokia flip phone that needs to be plugged into a straight up like 12 volt outlet. But it makes me so confused because, the Ice King uses a hologram computer. PB uses these crystals that...
There's a tech kingdom, right? There's got to be a tech kingdom.
Well, and you do get a little
it's
bit
of
like
science fair thing.
Yeah, well, you get some tech... It's not tech kingdom, but kind of BMO origin story. You can kind of, piece that together without it being a spoiler. But then Finn always uses this phone that's a cord phone in his book bag, and he always pulls the phone out and it looks like it's always connected to a landline in his book bag. Marceline has a little like almost like slug thing that like wraps around her arm that's her cell phone, and I'm like, who are they using? Old cell phone satellites from pre-Mushroom Wars to still communicate, but nobody just has consistent devices to communicate on.
Maybe it's aesthetics, man. Maybe they feel like the lame black screens that we all walk around with, the little bricks that we have in our pockets, are kind of lame, and rather having a motive conversation is more of an aesthetic. Like, what is your vibe?
Yeah, how do you want to communicate?
How do you want to express yourself? I don't know. I'm making that up, but that's interesting. I'm sure there's just not a bunch of IT guys or Apple, and there's no monopoly on telephones that's occurring.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was another little like side tangent I had about this episode, was like, we've seen so many modes of communication, and now we just see Jake with a regular old flip phone that dies, and also kind of, very funny, like, I don't know, we always use the word trope, but trope of this episode of like, hey, let's look at the videos from the night before to try to piece together what happened. Very Hangover, like the Hangover, the movie.
The jail guard's fantastic, dude. I'm glad he's your lovely, the red bat looking guy, or demon bat.
Wait, then who would your lovely be?
Oh gosh, I'm kind of torn. I have two people that I really enjoyed. Same scene, a little further in the episode, you have the canoeing traveler who's on top of a bunch of demons, and he's just like, okay, bozos, make a room, make room. He's just whacking them on heads with his paddle. Why is he there? Why is he doing this? He just gets joy out of it. This is just what he does.
Yeah. And then that's, again, we're knocking out factoids here, and it's taken from Dante's Inferno that I will butcher the name, but Filigas, who is basically he ferries souls over the river Styx, which is filled with wrathful and sullen sinners. So that's absolutely taken out of a textbook, but this guy doesn't even serve a purpose. He's just like, I just like riding my boat over all these suckers.
Yeah, his purpose is that he tells Finn and Jake that he needs to wait in a line, which is such a weird bit about the Nightosphere, where Hudson Abadir is an agent of chaos, and yet at the same time, the Nightosphere is so organized, self-organized. Those lines are self-governing lines that are able to hold, 42 million people, and bring them all to one place eventually over 28 days. But my other potential lovely that I am kind of on the fence about is the poor guy that he calls a fatty, the poor dude standing in line who can't move anywhere. And it's because the outbox is packed tighter than my tummy tunnel when I can't make brown stuff on a camping trip because of my anxieties. And also he has IBS.
And also I have IBS. I'd say that one actually got my tops of the episode.
Yeah, it's good. It's
tighter
so
than
funny.
my tummy tunnel. But he says the line so quickly that if you weren't paying attention, you'd be like, what the heck did he just say?
Yeah, my tummy tunnel is a really pleasant way to describe that too. So I appreciate tummy tunnel. Might have to start using that one.
I say I'm gonna have to memorize and practice that line and be like, man, this bar is packed tighter than my tummy tunnel when I can't make brown on the camping trips.
Yeah. It's just silly. I mean, the teller even says, we got systems down here. Like, they have ways of doing things thanks to Hudson Abadir. And they're not always perfect, but for some reason, this hellscape of a place has very strict ways about their business.
Hey, man, I could say though, like you're talking about Hudson being a agent of chaos, and this whole thing of like we have systems, but obviously the systems are bad, and the systems mean that like you hop in line and then you get destroyed by a cloud of demon blood mist, like um, or sorry, sentient blood mist. It's the fact that like when systems like that fail, or when systems like that, they're like, oh yeah, we've got this perfect system lined up and it's all good to go. That when it doesn't pan out really well, you're like, what the hell? Why do we even do this? If it's just like, that's how I feel at work all the time. We use all of these like softwares and Asana and all this stuff, and it just seems more chaotic than if we didn't do it. And I'm just try it. It's that whole like, it feels like hell. Like I'm in hell. I'm burning.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. Man, well, let's take a moment and reflect on that a little bit, and we'll go to a commercial and we'll come back, and I'll do my best not to just rant about how much I am obsessed with hummus right now. I almost started this episode just screaming about hummus, y'all. I came home and I was craving it. It was so good. I haven't bought hummus in a while. Thank you, AT&T, for the gift card for us signing up for your service. Not a sponsor. And I just got me some good hummus, some flat pretzels. This is what happens when you turn 29. You start to like really love.
Like screw going to the bar. Just give me some hummus.
Give me some hummus. All right, let's take a break. Well, babyface, and I've been in this damn line in the Nightosphere for doggone 14 days now. I've been moved at all. Hey, man, do you know how long it takes to get to Hudson, Abadir?
Who are you again?
I'm Babyface. I said it once. I'll say it again. Everybody knows me, even in the Nightosphere. Probably not. I'm Babyface, and I'm just here. I'm waiting in line. I was at the bar. I was talking to Manish Man, the Minotaur, and then I got punched out because I wanted hummus. They didn't have any hummus. Do you think the Nightosphere's got some hummus?
My name is Bruxton Bloodlord. I've been waiting in this line for 42 days.
Why? What are you waiting for?
I keep waking up with a pile of the stuff by my bed, and I want to talk to Hudson about how he's going to fix this issue.
Oh man, that sounds gross. What type of stuff?
The yellow stuff.
I love the yellow stuff. That hummus? Yeah, baby.
Wait, you're waiting in this line for hummus?
All right, so, we're moving forward. Bye.
Oh, dang it. He moved way far ahead. I meant to tell that babyface character that the hummus line was the next line over. He's going to be very disappointed. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around for a possibly pretty long episode today, I think.
Yeah, man. I'm almost out of my DRP. I don't know why I didn't go get some more pep. She got some more pep.
Let's gotta get that more Dr. Pepper, man.
Got to get that pep in your step.
I always got that pep in my step, baby girl. Well, shoot, man. So we're talking about the Nightosphere here.
Yeah.
We're talking about how this episode's so great. I did have, I think, kind of the concept of this episode that really stuck out to me, and why it feels so good, why it feels so natural, is that Jake and Finn, we've seen episodes where they end up in very basic situations and end up freaking out. AKA when it's Conquest of Cuteness, or when it's the horse episode and they're like losing their mind and they're terrified of the horse that's standing on the hill over by their treehouse. And in this episode, they straight up wake up in hell, and they go outside and they have this pan over scene of just the utter chaos that's happening. And they're so just calm and just chill. And they're just in the moment. They're not afraid. They're like, yeah, we're adventurers. Like, hey, dude, can you take us to Hudson Abadir? And he's like, get in my belly. I will not digest you. Like, it is a very habitable.
Lots of trust. Yeah.
It's a lot of trust, but like, I think it encompasses, I think, what I love about the show as a whole is that people who hate Adventure Time, they're like, yeah, it's just weird. It's just a weird show. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point, is that Jake and Finn end up in these weird situations.
They're like desensitized to the danger of that.
They're desensitized to danger and desensitized to weirdness, like they could end up in the Nightosphere and be like, yeah, we just like came here to talk to a guy. Can you help us out? And I love the beauty of that, because that kind of nonchalance is what I strive to kind of be like in my day-to-day life. It's kind of take situations and be like, it could be chaotic. It could be stressful. It could be somewhere where I don't want to be, and to just kind of take every day and be like, yeah, I'm here. Like, and somebody be like, well, you're not like nervous about being, and be like, no, I'm good. I'm going to ask somebody for directions and like,
it's going to happen.
Going on my way. Yeah.
Regardless of your anxieties, and if you can accept your own anxieties and move on, you're going to be better for it. I mean, I think a little bit of anxiety definitely, for me at least, helps me to be more on my toes and be more on top of everything, right? But I totally agree.
That's the catch-22. Yeah, that's the catch-22 of it, is being afraid enough to be like self-aware of when you're in like dangerous or bad situations, but also to be kind of that like calm in the face of the storm. I think it is what makes Finn and Jake such great adventurers, is that they end up in all of these situations. And Finn more freaks out when it's relationship-based situations. And he's way more off his toes then. Like he had a freak out moment when he had a crush on the Flame Princess, but he goes straight to hell and is just like calm as a cucumber, I think that's the beauty. And that's what I really love. And like, I find almost humorous about the show is that
it's great.
I don't know. I think that if we were like trying to wrap up in a nice, pretty bow, why we love this episode so much, it's just like, they're just there and they don't care that they're there. Like they're just trying to do, they're going to get back home, and they just wanted to talk to Hudson Abadir. And Hudson Abadir, they've already faced him and beat him, and they have every reason to be scared of him too. But I don't know. Maybe they have that much trust in
man. That dude's freaky. But here's where I get the humor from. Like, there are 42 million people, right? 42 million tickets, and the next
that
door
are just waiting in line too,
leads to another line. So of course the cloud, that is Hudson, that is technically Marceline. I don't blame, I'm just gonna say Hudson because it's just easier than saying Marceline, because Marceline's under the influence of Hudson or whatever, right? Spoilers for next week. But anyways, so I don't blame Hudson for zapping people. Like, that's so many people. He's in his own version of hell where he's got to take the claims and the questions of 42 million people. No wonder, like, the influence of Hudson Abadir is causing Marceline to just be like, no, F this. Like, who needs to pee? Like, I'm going to, for some reason, have mercy for you. I empathize. This is a long-ass line. You just wait in a different line. Of course you need to pee. You're saved. Everyone else, you're getting zapped because I don't want to deal with your crap. And for whatever reason, that had me giggling. I was like, I get it, man. That's a ton of people I have to take questions from.
Yeah.
I don't want five people to call me during the day.
Too, I think it's kind of one of those weird things where if the Nightosphere is this land of chaos and supposed to be like hell, zapping them, I don't know if you get zapped in the Nightosphere like that, if you go to a dead world.
I think I would better, right?
I would assume, and I would assume you go to a dead world. And again, if you've been a really
good, want to get zapped.
Yeah, if you've been a really good demon in the Nightosphere, and the Nightosphere is just some sort of alternate demon universe or demon world, that when you die, you essentially in the Adventure Time universe go to a dead world. If you've been a good little demon, you would go to one of the better dead worlds. And so in a way, Hudson keeping people in the Nightosphere and never letting them die or just making them, he's being more of an agent of chaos and evil, and Marceline
by leaving them there.
Yeah. And Marceline acting as Hudson, zapping people is just basically just being, thinking you're being evil and being like, ha, I'm just going to kill you. But like Hudson is way more probably maniacal by keeping people there and setting up these systems that don't work to make them more miserable, you know?
Those poor ass dummy demons at the beginning of the episode they just don't know any better, man. They're like
there was
pets.
the one that was like, did you see the one that was like hanging onto the door and it looked like he was like humping the floor?
I didn't love that. I thought that was taking it a little bit too far in my opinion. It was just because he seemed like he needed some help, but some of them were like pets. Some of them were like little like demonic animals, which was kind of cool.
Demonic caterpillars and stuff like that.
Totally. But now I get why the cult members were committing suicide out of that temple, right? Because they were trying to get the hell out of the Nightosphere and make it to a dead world, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe the only way out of the dead world is to get zapped by the sentient blood mist.
Hunson? Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. That you can,
that's an interesting concept. Well,
dark concept, but interesting.
Certainly. My most relatable character for this episode, not that that's really even a segment, but it's Finn. There's a moment, and it's again to that second line that they're waiting in. Jake, of course, has his great looking for an outlet, and then another banana poop joke. But Finn is basically all bummed, and he's like another line, and he's down in the dumps, and Jake's like, "Are you giving up? Like, you can't stick it out just a little bit more?" And Finn replies, "I don't know if my little boy heart can take it." And there is something so amazing about my little boy heart. I don't know if my little boy heart can take it. That's just so relatable and so funny to me. I love that.
I know. It's great. It reminds me pretty much of a quote that I use every day, given to me by my roommate's brother in college, who woke up one morning on our couch, hungover. He's about a year younger than us. So he was probably 21. We were probably 22. He wakes up on the couch. I'm down there making breakfast, and he's so hungover. He goes, "Josh," who's his older brother, "help me. I'm just a boy."
I'm just a boy.
I quote that daily. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm just a boy. I'm just a boy. And Finn in this episode is just my little boy heart. Just
I think we all have a little boy heart sometimes that just can't take it.
I mean, dude, maybe once a day for me. I'm like, my little boy heart just
Jake
wants to go play.
Though.
I just want to eat ice pops and play Kingdom Hearts, man.
Yeah.
My little boy heart just can't take this whole real life thing.
And then Jake's over here dropping some words of wisdom in Japanese, right?
Yeah, no, probably was it Japanese? It's probably Korean, though, right?
I looked it up. It's Japanese.
Oh, interesting.
Or at least that's what Google Translate said. I don't know. I'm gonna butcher this entirely, but it's like Guzo de Gante Bate Ne. I don't know, but anyways, it means have faith and go forth, and that's fantastic.
That's really great, man. That's it's a very. I mean, there's probably 17 different other like stereotype English sayings for that same concept.
For sure.
But no, I always kind of love those like Japanese Zen things. And Jake, I think Jake. The other thing in this episode I noticed, because I guess we haven't brought it up in several weeks, like the Jake mistakes. This episode has 0 Jake mistakes, which I was so I at least I didn't pick up on them.
I guess the guys gave him a hard time for not stretching to the front of the line, and everybody was like, "Don't do that." And the one big buff dude was like, "I will freaking destroy you if you try to skip the line."
Destroy you. No, but if you think about it, it's kind of like maybe the only thing he could have done is if he was so cramped in the line, he could have stretched and like gone in Finn's pocket and not been like squeezed in tight, you know?
Yeah, but someone else, that line was so, I mean, when you got 24 million people packed into a line, or 42 million, sorry, you know, there wasn't room before they got into that line. They made room for themselves.
It was when I think about Jake mistakes, and the reason why we even talk about them is he's got these crazy stretchy powers and they're awesome. And we always try to, for those people who maybe have not caught up on the origin of Jake mistakes in our show, it's when he's got these crazy stretchy powers and he doesn't do anything about it in some situations. And in this one, it's like he stretches onto the bus. He kind of navigates their way around the Nightosphere perfectly. They're not fighting anything in the Nightosphere until Hunson. And when they fight Hunson through the portal,
he tries to wrap him up.
He wraps him up with his arm. And like, I was like, dude, like he's just doing And I think the best one, and I'd say besides Fishhook Hand from Dungeon, my favorite Jake stretchy moment of the show so far is when he's backed up against the door and Hudson's coming for him, and he stretches into the keyhole, and all that pops out is his cell phone, his charger, and a banana. And so they kind of kept it consistent with like, those things won't shrink.
Yeah, pretty
and
smooth.
It goes to show why
Jake
doesn't wear clothes, because he's got to stretch.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he does wear what is the silk?
Yeah,
I keep bringing it up, anyways.
Spider silk.
Spider silk. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's great. I don't know. I didn't really have any Jake mistakes. Nothing occurred to me, so I guess I'm with you with that one.
Yeah,
it's a good episode, man.
I always look for like those. It always bugs me. It's always what the ex machina when Jake, like the ex machina in the Meow episode when he's like, liver is 51 times the size, and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, convenient.
That his stretchy powers can essentially be an ex machina in most of the situations that they're in. And in this one, because they're not trying to kill Hudson, they're trying to just talk to him. They're trying to figure out where they're at. They're not fighting any like big enemy, but every little time he stretches in this episode is exactly like perfect. And he didn't need to do more or less. And I love that.
Yeah. And they even mentioned, they're like, this is going to cause some daddy-daughter issues. And then, of course, that's when they cut open the giant head and reveal it as Marceline. And Marceline says, I'm going to close this portal and you're forbidden to come back to the Nightosphere. Stay away from me forever. And they're just like, okay, something's wrong. We got to get back in there. And Jake, not even a Jake mistake. It's just like, I got to shower, man.
I got to take a shower
first. I'm gross. And Finn sniffs himself. I mean, yeah, no, it's great. Good episode. Great way to wrap it up and end it. And a good little like, oh, never mind. It wasn't Hudson the entire time. It was actually Marceline kind of disguised as a similar monster. Though there are some differences I noticed in the way
smaller
that
head,
more tentacles, I believe, and then slightly different shades of colors.
The shades of color should have been the dead giveaway from the start, in my opinion. Second of all, though, I think the biggest giveaway for the Hudson Abadir is when we left off from the first Nightosphere episode, and last time we saw Hudson, he was almost kind of like playing off that character style where he's been doing what he's been doing so long that he's just like kind of passive to it. And we'll get to that next week. Yeah. That's a big talking point about business next week. Going about business as usual. Nothing, in this kind of sense would make him aggressive. And we did see in the first episode, he's not an aggressive dude. He's just like, I'm sucking up souls. I'm doing what I'm doing. And he doesn't even turn into his like weird owl bulbous head form until he's threatened, but he'll walk around with his red boots on. And so I think the dead giveaway that something is up is the fact that like Hudson is being aggressive. They should have been like, bro, like you were so chill with us last time. You kind of thought we were cool
here? What's going
guys.
on?
And you wanted to have a better relationship with your daughter last time. They probably should have noticed that something was up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fascinating. Another thing I did notice though, was there was some Peppermint Butler. There's a Peppermint Butler photo in Hudson's room or his house.
Ooh,
playing golf.
That's a big one right there. So we do know that in the Death in Bloom episode that Peppermint Butler has a relationship with Death and obviously has some very dark past that is explained in the HBO specials, why he has a dark past. But it's now confirmed that Peppermint Butler is tight with the Nightosphere at this point too. So
wow,
I love that they threw that in there, and I love that even in this part, even in this early in the show, that they have like stuck with the theme that Peppermint Butler is deeper than surface level for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, man. Well, do you have any factoids to wrap things up for us?
Well, shoot. I love.
We've gone through so many of them.
I say when we have conversations and all my factoids come up organically, I freaking love that. So we talked about the Bosch painting. We talked about Dante's Inferno. We talked about the Monty Python scene. That was a factoid of mine. The only like pretty much last one I had too was that 42 million exactly. It's possibly a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the answer to the ultimate question of life
42
is 42.
Yeah.
And so with that, it's the joke in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is, what is the question? But the answer is 42. We have the answer, but we don't have the question. And that's kind of the fun conundrum. So that's kind of, I think it's just a nod to a lot of, I think just in this one, a nod to a lot of like literature and paintings and artwork. And so possibly 42 just being like, hey, 42 is the answer to everything, you know?
Yeah. Nice.
But that actually, we knocked out all my factoids except for that one.
Sweet, dude. Well, my lesson this week is kind of a reference to a really fantastic YouTube video by Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps. His earlier on videos, he did the Awesomeness series, and he talks about Legend of Zelda, not Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, and the Nightosphere has so much GD waiting, Ned. There's so much, gosh damn, I'm not even going to do it, but waiting in the Nightosphere. And that's a fantastic YouTube video if you haven't checked that out. Him complaining about one of the best Zelda games of all time.
Nice. Is that your only lesson?
That's my only lesson. There's just so much damn waiting in the Nightosphere, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of waiting. I'd say I've got 3 lessons for this one. The first one is lines suck. And they do. That
Agreed.
is why I never wait in the drive-through line. I just walk inside and get my food. I hate waiting in the drive-through line. I hate waiting in lines. I will go find other things to do. I will wait at my house for an hour before going and doing something if I have to wait in a line.
Sometimes, Ned. Sometimes that's the right answer. Sometimes waiting in the drive-through is a privilege. And
it's a privilege. I just don't
I
like
love it in certain restaurants. There are certain restaurants that they got it down.
True. My second lesson is that we probably should second guess the next time we eat bananas. We don't really know if they're gross or not.
I've never seen where bananas come from personally. I've seen photos that may or may not be real. Maybe the government planted those. But I've never grown a banana.
Are we starting a whole separate podcast called Bananas Aren't Real?
Bananas aren't real. Bananas are, I guess, poop. I don't know if that's what I want to claim as my belief, but I totally agree. I've never seen a banana. I mean, just like, I don't know, it could be Batman for all I know. I've never seen them in the same room at the same time.
That's
like
true.
I've never seen the origins of a banana. I've seen where it ends up a lot of times in my stomach. Or after my stomach, after my tummy tunnel. Yeah, after my tummy tunnel. But regardless, what's your final lesson, Ned?
Oh, my final lesson, and as I always like to get a little just more serious with you guys on my last one, is when you're faced with uncomfortable situations, scary situations, it's always good to just be chill, self-aware, but chill in those situations. Take life when it throws you in scary places and just go, hey, how do I get to where I'm going? And just be chill. And honestly, that's the best way to be an adventurer. And I try to do it. I don't always do it really well, but yeah, I'd say that's my big lesson. It makes the journey of life a lot funner and and I'd say it makes the journey of life, like you do the journey better. You actually get to where, like, if Jake and Finn had freaked out and started fighting a bunch of demons, they would have just died in the Nightosphere, you know?
Yeah. I think, my lesson for myself, not at all a New Year's resolution or nothing, but just do it. There are a couple of tasks that I just am putting off because they're boring, daily, like adult tasks.
Tell me about it.
Like financial crap that like I just don't do because it's not fun or it seems like a pain. I'm just going to do it. It has nothing to do with this episode, but of course we're wrapping this up. And so my things that I need to do just popped in my head. And I'm like, man, just freaking
don't start going down that train because we'll talk for another 20 minutes.
I know we're not going to do it. All right. My rec for this week, we're still in the mystery genre. We're still loving the whodunits. We talked a little bit about this prior. Ned does not like this wreck at all. I rather enjoy Death on the Nile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna yuck your yums over here, Russell.
It's not as good as Knives Out.
Finish it. I didn't finish it. So that's one thing. I didn't finish it. So it just didn't. It was like 45, 50 minutes in to the movie, and I was like, we have not even had the murder yet. And like 50 minutes in, and I get it. And I love Agatha Christie books. Like, I think she's a great writer, and that's kind of like all going off that genre that Agatha Christie kind of created. But my recommendation actually kind of fits a little bit into that to a degree. The Menu, the new movie that came out with Anya Taylor-Joy, whatever her name is, and Lord Voldemort and a bunch of other famous fantastic movie. It has that Knives Out feel to it. It's a lot more like a horror. It's a lot more gory. It's a lot more like suspense thriller than like mystery. But it was fantastic. It was all of that wrapped into a movie that with a tongue-in-cheek message about kind of the wealthy people and the food industry.
Okay.
So I don't want to spoil it for anybody either, because I tried to predict what was going to happen the whole time and really could not pick out what was going to happen next. So I'd say if you have HBO Max or want to rent it on Amazon Prime or whatever, The Menu is a fun, and if you don't mind dark, gory movies a little bit.
Yeah, I might end up passing on that one, Ned, but
no,
I'm glad we gory, have a representation on the podcast.
Because not horror movie gory at all.
Okay.
Just dark. It's very realistically dark. I should say that.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for checking us out, listening to us, and supporting us all that you can. Again, just want to reiterate from last week, we don't really market this podcast other than doing TikToks and posting occasionally and whatnot. And anything y'all can do to promote on socials or tweet at us, use our hashtag NEA Podcasts. All of that is super helpful. Any reviews that you do or ratings that you do, let us know if you do that, and we'll send you a sticker of the podcast logo. And check us out on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast. Email us your thoughts, your opinions. We'll do a Traveler's Log segment. We may have them, and I didn't look this week. I apologize. Send them to our email, nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. And man, I hope you'll have a great week. Make sure you all go make your appointments with Hudson. It's going to be a long wait till next Tuesday for another episode. So
it's going to be a long wait for you guys.
Go get your reservations for your appointments and party forever.
Love you guys.